everybody and welcome back. Death shall approach on rapid wings to those who disrupts the king's tranquility. That is a warning on King Tutankhamun's tomb, which was ignored by a famous Egyptologist, Lord Carnarvon, and discoverer Howard Carter. They opened the tomb in 1922, and 4 months later, Lord Carnarvon died in a most bizarre way. It is believed that the lights went out when he died. Another famous Egyptologist, James Henry Breasted, who worked alongside Carter, shared some details on how Carter had once sent his messengers home on some work, and the messenger, on approaching the house, heard a faint cry, almost human. When he went inside the house, he saw a cobra inside the bird cage with Carter's canary in its mouth. Now, cobra, being the symbol of Egyptian monarchy, added more fuel to the rumors of the curse. And all this happened on the same day the tomb was opened. Lord Carnarvon, who financed the excavation, strangely died from a mosquito bite which he slashed accidentally while shaving, which resulted in blood poisoning. Much later, when they examined King Tutankhamun's body, they found a faint lesion mark on the left cheek. But it was too late to check if the mosquito bite on Lord Carnarvon's cheek corresponded to the one on the king's cheek. There were also thoughts on other causes and complications like pneumonia arising from invasive infection resulting in multi-organ failure. Later on, it was concluded that Lord Carnarvon's death had nothing to do with the curse. The cause of death was declared as streptococcal infection of tissue and skin. According to Henry Field, an anthropologist, a paperweight gifted to Carter's friend, Sir Bruce Ingram, had a mummified hand along with a bracelet which read, "Cursed be he who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water and pestilence." Would you believe, soon after getting this gift, Ingram's house burned down, and the one that he rebuilt was destroyed in a flood. Howard Carter did not believe in curses. However, in 1926, for the first time in over 35 years of working in the desert, he recorded in his journal seeing a jackal which was as same as Anubis, the guardian of the dead. He did not believe that this had anything to do with curses or superstitions. It has been hard to prove any of it actually being related to the curse, as many people who entered the tomb had no such problem. They lived long normal lives, including Howard Carter, who died of lymphoma at the age of 64, which is much later. Even though the story of Tutankhamun's curse is debatable, the curse on most of the tombs are quite scary. Egyptians believed that any interference with their mummified bodies compromised their existence in the afterlife. Louis Pennicier's record of 1699 had a Polish traveler who had bought 2 mummies and took them in cargo on an ocean journey. He kept getting visions of 2 spectral entities over and over again until those 2 mummies were thrown overboard due to terrible storms. After they were thrown overboard, the visions stopped. Egyptologist Walter Bryan Emery, who in 1971 discovered the statue of Osiris, the Egyptian god of death, took the statue with him to his house. Later that day, his assistant found him weeping in the bathroom, gripping onto the bathroom sink, completely traumatized. He looked as though he was paralyzed. His assistant dragged him onto the couch and called for help. Later, Emery was diagnosed with right-sided paralysis, and he passed away the next day. From the time he was found in the bathroom till his death, he could not communicate because of paralysis. Egyptologist ZAHI HAWWAS was a victim of Qom Abu Bilo curse. He lost his aunt on the day he was bringing items from the exploration site of Qom Abu Bilo. His uncle passed away next year, but on the same date. And the year after, he also lost his cousin, again on the same date. Coincidence, you think? A thief stole a relic as memento when he was in Egypt and brought it back to Germany with him. Soon he fell ill and his ailment could not be diagnosed. He developed a bad fever and eventually died of paralysis. His stepson sent the relic back to the German embassy in Egypt in 2007 because he feared that this relic will bring more suffering to his family and his uncle who had passed away will not attain peace until it is sent back to where it belongs. He even put an anonymous note along with the relic saying this particular statue had brought nothing but misery and suffering to his family. Historic events of Egypt is intriguing to most of us and there are so many questions that still remains unanswered. Here are some very bizarre theories and facts. There is no record of King Tutankhamun's death. When his body was examined, it revealed that his body was embalmed without a heart and his chest wall was missing. This didn't sound right because it was against Egyptian burial practice. Egyptians those days used to hunt hippos for sport. And they also found a lot of statues in Tutankhamun's tomb. One of it was him throwing a harpoon. That is the reason why they believe he might have been killed by a hippo. Some people believe that he died because of a hunt that did not go as planned. There were also other speculations that he might have been assassinated or he could have died as a result of deadly combination of various diseases. These days it is very common to see men wearing makeup, but it wasn't the same then. In ancient Egypt, both women and men wore eye paint which was usually black or green. They say this protected their eyes from the harsh rays of sun, it repelled flies and mosquitoes and also kept certain infections away. Makeup also showed the wealthiness of an Egyptian, and the one carrying a portable makeup kit was considered very wealthy. Like everywhere else, people made offerings to their local gods to please them. In Egypt, they made offerings of animal mummies. It is because many Egyptian gods were associated with animals, like Sky God had a falcon's head on top of a man's body, and Anubis had a head of a jackal. The animal mummies offered were of cats, cows, baboons, birds, gazelles, and even beetles. This practice became so popular that priests are believed to have run a local business of rearing these animals, slaughtering them and mummifying them. Ancient Egyptians strongly believed that any interference with their mummified bodies would jeopardize their existence in the afterlife. The tomb of Antifi had a warning which read, "Any ruler who shall do evil or wickedness to this tomb, may Heaven not accept any goods offered by him, and may his heir not inherit." The tomb of Kentika Ikeki has inscription, "As for all men who shall enter my tomb impure, there will be judgment, and an end shall be made for him. I shall seize his neck like a bird, I shall cast the fear of myself into him." Some curses invoked destruction of Sekhmet. "Cursed be those who disturb the rest of a pharaoh. The one who breaks the seal of this tomb shall meet death by a disease that no doctor can diagnose." Business Insider reports that some of these curses were kept to keep the thieves away, which is a very common problem. In ancient Egypt, many royal families, to keep their divine blood, power and wealth at top, had descendants from the same family. So they married within the same family, even siblings at times. According to Ancient History Encyclopedia, Egyptians referred to their partners as brothers or sisters, which is shocking in today's world. When King Tutankhamun's DNA was analyzed, they found that he was born of a brother-sister union. Scientists believe that this could have caused the bone deformity in his foot, which would have probably made his walking very painful. Ancient Egyptian priests had to sometimes take care of animals as an act of devotion. This also meant keeping stock of animals to be offered as mummies later on. Sobek, the god of Nile, had a head of a crocodile on top of a man's body, and some temples which were dedicated to him had live crocodiles who were adorned with jewelry. Their diet was better than any human. After these crocodiles died, they were mummified. DNA analysis of some of these crocodile mummies revealed that these were more smaller and docile compared to the big bad ones that are found in Nile. Although royal servants enjoyed many benefits working for the royals, they had to face a terrible fate when their employer died. You see, they didn't want to go into the afterlife all alone. So the servants were also mummified and buried alongside their masters. This sacrifice was practiced early in ancient Egypt between 2900 and 3500 BCE. All the servants and goods buried in the tomb was meant for use in the afterlife. It is believed that the servants were not actually terrified of this practice, but they felt proud to be able to serve their masters on the other side. Magic during ancient times in Egypt was accepted as normal. It is believed that many people used magic in their day-to-day lives, like midwives trying to help their clients with painful childbirth. There were magicians using wax figures and books which had powerful spells, and some are even believed to have wands made of ivory. The process of mummification was very complicated, and it took an average of 70 days per person. The burial packages were designed to suit the wealth of a family. This process was carried out not just for the purpose of preservation of a body, but to have continued existence in the afterlife. The priests had to say the right incantation during burial, and if it was not done properly, they believe the dead would come back to haunt the living. If any families faced bad luck or bad health, they would blame the dead for it. According to the Routledge Dictionary of Egyptian Gods and Goddesses, Ammit is a creature with a crocodile's head, a lion's front, and a hippo's back. It is believed that Ammit waited in the Hall of Truth, where the dead souls awaited their judgment. The heart of the deceased was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart weighed lighter than the feather, it meant that the person did good when he was alive and he was allowed to enter paradise. But if the heart was heavier than the feather, then Ammit would devour the heart, wiping the existence of that soul. Years ago, mummies were imported all the time, and they were also smuggled illegally. There were too many of them, and all the mummy bandages were discarded after unwrapping them. Apparently, these bandages are cheaper than wrapping paper. So there were some businessmen who started making wrapping paper out of these bandages. Unfortunately, this turned out to be a nightmare and the disease spread. Of course, the use of these bandages as wrapping papers were banned. If anyone robbed a temple that belonged to sun god or showed disrespect or was found guilty of any offense related to sun god, that person was sentenced to be burned alive. Although human sacrifice was rare in ancient Egypt, this was an exception. They believed by destroying the human's body, by burning it, would leave them no vessel in the afterlife. This was the most dreaded punishment those days. People believed that priests were very powerful and they could consult with the gods directly. So priests started getting involved in the matters of court. They would bring in a statue of sun god and set a papyri in front with two options, one innocent and the other guilty. And the statue would turn towards one option, showing God's judgment. Of course, this gave the priest a chance to manipulate the statue's movements. The mysteries of ancient Egypt has always been a subject of curiosity, and it will remain that way. Hollywood has been successful in making this saga even more exhilarating by adding more twists and turns on the big screen. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please don't forget to click on subscribe and the bell notification, and kindly do share these videos with people who have similar interests. Thank you so much again. Have a lovely day and take care.